Hello, Tiffin University wrestling fans, and now it's time for the 39th Annual Midwest Classic Review and the Ranger Duels Preview with head coach Joey Simcoe. Coach, how are you?
Great.
First off, welcome back. You had the holidays there. Did the needle on the scale fluctuate any?
Oh yeah, for sure. Some came back a little fatter and happier than normal, but yeah, a little bit, but we're back under control.
Let's jump right into the Midwest Classic. You guys finished 8th of 35 teams. You have 5 placers. Anybody other than those 5 placers, or you can elaborate on one of those 5, any of them that really stood out to you can think of?
Yeah, Nick Mason. He ended up taking 4th at 197, found his way into, I believe, about 11th in the rankings right now. Just really wrestled very well. He's at light 197, goes out, wrestles with a lot of heart, and just really proved himself. Wrestled against some really tough guys, some guys ranked pretty high in the country. Had a tough loss to a kid from Mercyhurst. One of those, 6 to 1, half dozen to another kind of calls. Nick made a mistake, but, could have went either way, and that was the difference between being in the semis or wrestling back, and he just, for a freshman, the kid, he's just wrestling lights out.
Now, in your honest opinion, when you look at where you finished, is that about where you thought you'd come in, or did you exceed expectations?
I think we exceeded expectations. Even from our standpoint, that's the best we've done. That's the most placers we've had out there. This is the youngest team we've taken out there since my first year. I really think we wrestled well, and I really was pretty happy. Obviously not satisfied, but happy.
Now, having said that, you finish 8th. When you look back upon that, and now we look forward ahead to nationals, does this event give you and your finish give you any indication of where you could be nationally or could finish nationally when you get to that point at the end of the season?
I think so. I've been saying it from the beginning. This team doesn't have the bullseye on its back like teams of the past. But that doesn't mean this isn't a good team. This team is very tough, very talented, and it's just not known yet. That's the big thing. Is we're outplacing people. We're not getting ranked ahead of them. It is what it is. So. I think that's a nice little motivation factor for the guys, and I think this is another top 10 team. It's just a matter of putting it together.
And the most recent Wrestling Coaches Association rankings have come out. We talked in our previous show. You thought, and I thought, if you finished well within the top 10, that you'd be in the rankings, the top 25. You are not. You actually come in with 11 votes, which is 3 behind Seton Hill for 25th in the nation. Do you, as a coach, try and relay that information to your athletes as motivation, or is it just frustration for you guys that you still can't crack that top 25?
It's both, and I think for Seton Hill especially, they were invited out to national duels. They made it to the semis, and at that point I quit watching the results simply because I think these rankings have changed a lot. I think coaches voted because they weren't getting their way, and there's people in place doing the voting now that I believe make sure it gets swayed one way or another, even though they're losing matches, losing dual meets, losing tournaments. So it's one of those things. I think this is motivating our guys. I think this is pushing them to train harder. I feel like our team is feeling somewhat the pressure of getting into that top 25, and it's a good motivator. So it's one of those things. Like, am I mad about it? I guess, but am I happy about it? Yeah, at the same time.
This frustration or motivation is more so from a recruiting standpoint, you could say, because a lot of kids look at that national ranking, Tiffin's not in it, so that could sway their decision whether they come to Tiffin University to wrestle or maybe go to one of these other schools in the top 25.
Absolutely. Our grad assistant, Travis Salyer, and I were talking about it, and I think that's the most frustrating part, is because we know how talented this team is. We know that they're good. This results that we're having so far is not a fluke. These guys are training, they're putting the work in. So, when we're talking to recruits and they ask that question, that's kind of one of those things. We like to say that stuff, and we just keep pointing out the teams we beat, we're outplacing, and yeah, we beat this guy, we beat that guy, and I think coming into the year we'll be able to show where we're at.
Let's go ahead and move on to the Ranger Duels this coming weekend. For those people, like we always do, that really don't follow wrestling, really don't know much about the event, can you give a rundown of what the event is and its significance within your schedule?
So we got invited to this a few years back. We took a year off of going last year. Typically St. Cloud comes, McKendree, Indianapolis has been coming. Finley's there. We don't usually wrestle Finley because we duel them later. But there's a lot of the, usually these are predominantly top 15, top 20 teams that are at this event. So for us to go out here and get a chance to wrestle these guys, especially being young and not getting invited to national duels, this is just a great event.
Well, 3 of the teams that you did mention, St. Cloud State, #1 in the nation in the Wrestling Coaches Association rankings. UW Parkside, the host, is #2, and then Indianapolis coming in at #9. This week of practice for a significant event like this, what has it been like for the student athletes, considering they've come back onto campus now? Now it's focus upon getting down to our weight and getting in the wrestling room. Is it more of a technique practice, or are you really trying to be physical with these guys leading up to this match?
A little bit of both. I mean, we've been here training since before New Year's. It's not, unfortunately, these guys don't get the full break that everybody does. But we'll open up with Indianapolis. We'll have Parkside second round and McKendree in the third round. We actually don't get to see St. Cloud out there this year, but it's been both. Like we preach it all the time. Like, practice is not a time to cut weight. That's done before practice, after practice. Weight management. So really, this has been normal. We're going into this normal. We wanna make a statement, and there's a good mix of the hard grind to the technique sessions, and it's just a matter of preparing ourselves, I guess.
Anybody that stood out since they've come back in the wrestling room in your mind?
To be honest, this sounds cliche, but I mean the whole team's wrestling really well.
Well, they have motivation now.
Yeah, we got guys that are we're a little dinged up out at Midwest that we're a match away from placing. And we got some guys coming like I said, coming back from injury that I think we'll get to see a different performance out of them here versus the Midwest tournament or previous matches. So. We're just excited to get back out, get competing again, and, finish the second half of the season.
And last question for you. Earlier on in this year, you talked about correcting some technical aspects as to maybe why you were losing individual matches. Do you believe you've corrected that as a team?
For the most part. I mean, there's always the X's and O's portion that you got to fix. No matter what sport you're in, every game, for us, it's every match. And I think that's something we'll improve upon, right up until we head out to the national tournament in March. But for the most part, we've done a lot. We've added some new drills in, some new things to kind of make ourselves more valuable out there.
Coach, once again, always thank you for your time. We appreciate you sitting down doing this with us. If you'd like more information on Tiffin University Wrestling or Coach Simcoe and his staff, go to tiffindragons.com, go to the sports tab, wrestling, men's on the bottom left, women's on the bottom right. You can click on those and find out some more information about those. Coach, best of luck this week, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
This has been a look back at the Midwest Classic and a look ahead to the Ranger Duels at Tiffin University Wrestling.